Hi, I'm Tesla and I spend a lot of time in YNAB, which is you need a budget, and I am changing up my budget pretty drastically in 2023. I wasn't sure this warranted its own video, but it's probably good for me to talk through just like the pros and cons out loud as I set it up. I'm hesitant to change my budget because I really like my categories as they stand. I like the simplicity. I like how easy it is for me to navigate my budget. I don't have to spend a lot of time splitting transactions. I also like how I have it grouped by essential versus non-essential purchases because then I know what to prioritize and what categories I can move money out of if I need to. Having limited categories also means that it's really easy for me to use the YNAB widget, which I think is why I was so successful at importing transactions as they happened, which I was not good at doing that before I had YNAB. But despite all of that, I'm changing my categories because I want them to be more detailed because I just want more data in my reports. I've been consistently budgeting for a year and a half, so even though I think it's going to be tedious to sift through more categories every time I want to budget or log a transaction, I think I can stick to it. I also have a habit of zeroing out all my spending categories and then moving any leftover money either into savings or paying back my credit card. But I think with this new structure, it's going to make more sense to let money roll over from month to month in some categories. I'm not sure how it's going to work out because I have a secondary Google Sheet where I track my plans versus what actually happened, and that sheet does not have a rollover option unless I add it to my income. But if I have a lot of rollover every month, then it's going to make it seem like I have a really inflated income. But who knows, maybe I won't need the extra sheet once I get more granular in my actual budget, or maybe I'll still zero out at the end of each month anyway. I'm gonna try this structure for at least 6 months, maybe the whole year, just to get a full view of my finances and then switch back to a broader view if I want to. Another thing I changed is I'm also gonna have an inactive savings category group for sinking funds that are already full or are not prioritized. I might move it around and then just put all my savings, whether they're prioritized or not, back into one big group and then just hide the completed goals, but I'm not sure yet. I'm using the funds I think I'll have by the end of 2022 to fill out my signed in savings. There are some things I'm going to keep the same. For example, I like my investments to show in my reports so I can always see how much I've exactly budgeted for investing throughout the year. I know it gets weird in the salary report because it mixes some things from my net pay with my gross pay because I don't track my entire gross pay. I don't track my deductions and health insurance and things like that. But I know I can just look at how much I've invested pre-tax and subtract that from my income, and then that will give me my net earnings pretty easily. And so I think it's just more important for me to see if I'm meeting my investment goals each month. I also still do not plan to budget a month ahead. After a year and a half of YNAB, I just still don't feel comfortable with that. I like dealing with things 2 weeks at a time, 1 month at a time. I still have my month ahead fund, but I really only use that for bills for the first half of the month, and then I replenish it in the second half of the month so it zeroes out. And also my on budget and tracking account structures are also the same, including the closed accounts where I have imported my previous assets and liabilities so I can have my total net worth data and not just the net worth from this year. I will link a video in my description on how I learned to do that from another YNAB channel on YouTube. But otherwise, this is my YNAB setup. I've gone from 5 category groups to 12, and I've gone from 26 categories to 42 categories. So wish me luck on keeping track with everything. I'm gonna do another video on my actual budget plans and financial intentions for 2023. And then once December is over, I'll do a full 2022 financial goals review. But until then, I'm really excited to see how everyone else is setting up their budgets in the new year. I think every year I'm gonna do a fresh start and just change up my categories once a year to keep things fresh.